Wire TV.
Because I believe in my heart that, our community, this generation, has so much that we can do together to make a difference. So, talk to powers that be to come in and see how we can bring together a group of individuals that would be interested in doing something like that. One, two, just my heart for the community as a whole and my belief in us that we can do something is why I'm here. So I want to help facilitate this discussion because I believe that there are people, you're here for a reason. You're in this room because you want to be here or whatever, you're here. So thank you all for coming, number one. And then two, your participation, of course, is always appreciated. You being here says a lot. So to start the discussion, one, because I know as I started to say my feelings and emotions around this issue were real, right? Everybody's feelings are real. And so I wanted to hear from other people in the community around your feelings and how you feel.
There's no value for black life. There's no value for... it took me to an us against them again. Us versus them, white people versus black people sort of mentality. And saying that now we have to justify why our children should be alive, why we should be alive. And it also made me think about Michael Vick and all the time when he get 28 months for, fighting dogs. And this man kills a young boy and they say, well, he had to stand the ground law, so he's able to go free. So it brought about a bunch of bitterness and emotions that was already bottled up inside, and they came out. But one of the things that I was thinking is to be loud and active in the community.
Justice for Trayvon Martin! Justice for Trayvon Martin! Justice for Trayvon Martin! Justice for Trayvon Martin!
No, it wasn't only about race, but race definitely played a part of it. So how can you say it was not about race, but it was even introduced as part of the trial that two African-American men young men had broken into a neighbor's house. They had nothing to do with Trayvon Martin, but because they were young African-American, well, what is that? That's not profiling. The 800-pound gorilla in the room is, you have Zimmerman's father, who's an ex-judge. Come on, let's be serious. We got to be. The reality of it is, and we can't be mad at him. That's just a reality. His father used whatever pull and whatever juice he had, because they stay on the street, whatever juice that he had to do what he could to save his son.
Right, exactly. Now, now let us say this here. If Trayvon Martin had been white and George Zimmerman had been black, what would the outcome of that would have been?
First of all, Zimmerman would have went to jail and never got out of jail.
Okay. If Trayvon Martin was of age, armed, and able to stand his ground against George Zimmerman, what do you think would have been the result?
Again, the results would have been, I believe, in my heart, that the word would have been matching the level of force with the level with the intent. I believe that they would.
First thing come to mind when I think of Rodney King, I'm glad they got it on tape. Trayvon Martin. I kind of kept up with that case a little bit all the way to Stanton, Florida. It started way back with the NAACP on how they killed a man, hung a man. Then even on with Jackie Robinson in Stanton, how when he was in training camp, they told him, you better get out of there before they kill him. Then centuries later with Trayvon Martin, on how he was followed, shot, and killed. First thing comes to my mind is when they said they could not tell who was screaming. Why would anybody with a gun in their hand be screaming for help?
Yeah, I remember that day. I was watching it on TV. I was here in LA, and I couldn't believe it. But I felt reassured when the President of the United States, George Herbert Walker Bush, came on television, and he was surprised too. He said that they were going to file charges against them. So I knew eventually these guys were going to go to prison. But yeah, I was very disappointed, because if I was on that jury, I would have came back with a guilty verdict on all four of them. Man, during the riots, I was a youngster, just like these youngsters are out here right now rioting during the Trayvon Martin protests. And, you know, I wasn't surprised because everyone was talking about it. There was rumors circulating in the air that if this verdict goes south, that it's going to be a riot. But, you know, I wasn't alive for the 1965 riot, so I had never seen what an urban riot looked like.
Right.
So that was the first for me. Of course, I've seen it on television, I've seen it in documentaries, but to actually see it in front of you and to see Western burnt from Venice all the way down to Century, to see Crenshaw on fire, to see Vermont, to see all the corridors that you hung out on fire, that was something amazing.
Around 18, I used to run pounds of weed across different states. I would jump on the planes, maybe have 10, 15 on me at a time. And I'm in different states. I'm in Ohio, I'm in Nebraska, I'm in Atlanta. I'm running this shit by myself. One pistol, I'm meeting people from different states. And as I'm doing this, I have no backing, so I'm my own backing. My job was to come back with whatever I said I'd come back with, which I'm standing on the backbone all alone, you know what I'm saying, with one pistol. And I'm coordinating with my buddy, you know what I'm saying, he RIP and now to this day, and I'm telling him, hey man, I'm out here all alone, I got this shit, they trying to get me, you know what I'm saying, how you want me to handle it? He said, man, you need to bring mine back. What you mean bring it back? I need you to bring all of it back. My money. Well, when I looked around in the community, we were all hurting each other one by one. One black man falling here, one black man falling there. But when I got outside the neighborhood and I started walking around these different areas, and I'm meeting guys from 60s and 40s and 30s and different sets, and I started noticing like we all think alike, but we just grew up in different areas. Due to the fact that a lot of black families can't afford funerals. What they do is they give out giveaways, food drives, car washes, anything they can do to raise the money to have a funeral. So what I do is I try to help them out the best way I can is to offer them funeral service at the lowest price that we can get it at. Maybe sometimes $1,500, $2,000, $2,000 with a funeral, $4,580 with a burial. So that's what I do for the community.
I am a graduate of the Los Angeles Violence Intervention Training Academy. I'm my certification through the City of Los Angeles and through the Urban Peace Institute. I was also certified in 2000 by the Stop the Violence Increase the Peace Foundation. I was certified by the City of Los Angeles, the City of Inglewood.
There's a crisis going on across the United States of America, and that crisis is urban violence. The lifestyle of the LA gang members is being emulated, and violence is being transplanted in different locations across the country. To combat this violence, you have to seek the assistance of seasoned professionals.
What qualifies me for the job is that I have over 40 years as a gang member. As who I am, being responsible and being as a man, I owe a debt of service to the community now. So it's my job to be able to come back and be able to assist and be able to do whatever I can do to try to help clean up some of the mess that I made.
I myself am a seasoned certified professional in the streets of South Central Los Angeles. I myself started out in the trenches of Los Angeles amidst the LA gang war when it was at its heights in the 80s and the 90s.
If you use that word and consider yourself a nigga, you need education. You need to be, you need to discover yourself. You need to find out who you really are. Because of the fact that that word right there is something we can't take no pride in. Ain't no way in the world that I'm going to take the word and say, okay, I'm a nigga just because of the fact that this is what some rapper says. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to be a nigga just because of the fact that this is how everybody else sees themselves. See, to think in a higher science is to think of yourself as who you are as an individual and as a person. Remember what I said before, power is in what you don't do, not what you do. So I don't call myself a nigga. I'm the most powerful one in the group. See, I'm not going to delegate out of ignorance. I'm going to delegate out of power.
Hoodwire TV.